Darnell on your afternoon drive, joining us now on the Bobby B Sports Tech Hotline. Good friend of the show, and good friend in particular, Mike Petraglia, CLNS Media, covers the Bengals and the NFL and college sports out that way. He was at the game between the Bills and the Bengals. And Mike, first, thanks for joining us. I know it's been hectic, emotional. What more can you tell us about some of the developments with Damar Hamlin and his status?
Well, it's pretty encouraging, Dibs, and thanks for having me. The UC Medical Center, two doctors, two cardiologists, held a press briefing for about an hour today in Cincinnati and had very promising news. While Damar Hamlin is still in critical condition, he is now breathing 50% on his own, not completely all the way there, but more importantly, I think, to the doctors, his cognitive and neurological brain function is there, and he's not just home, he's answering the phone, I think is the description that the doctors gave them, meaning he is able to interact, he's able to recognize people. He even wrote down on a clipboard who won the game the other night, and the doctors told him, you won the game of life. And the atmosphere, around Damar today was pretty encouraging considering where he was, 72 hours ago. It's pretty remarkable, and I cannot overstate the significance of the first responders, the EMTs, and obviously the doctors at UC Medical Center and the medical professionals and the job that they've done restoring hope to Damar Hamlin and giving him and his family reason to think that he can make a recovery from what we witnessed on Monday night, which was certainly unprecedented. I mean, there have been, moments on an NFL field that take you back, that silence you, take your breath away. But what we saw on Monday night and what the players and coaches were witness to direct and up close was something they'd never experienced before. And I think all parties should be really commended for how they're handling it.
The wide receiver in the mix of that tackle was T. Higgins. How is Mr. Higgins doing?
Well, he spoke for the first time today, and he said that his teammates have picked him up big time and have helped him get over the hump and process what's going on. He said, obviously, it's been very hard the last couple of days, but once he heard that Damar's family had no problem with him and that Damar had, Damar's family had support for him, and that he heard the news today, obviously this morning. He got it firsthand from Damar's family that he is improving. That gave him, a lot more peace of mind, and he's been able to go about his job. Because in the end, when it comes down to it, these guys also have a job to do, and they're trying to balance. That's what I've been really watching in the last 72 hours, is how these football players balance the emotion of everything with trying to go ahead and do a job that they're tasked and paid to do. And, there is a balance that everybody is trying to, in a fine line, everybody's trying to walk, right? But I think, T. Higgins is indicative of being able to appreciate and certainly support Damar and his family, but also get about the business of returning to football, get your mind away from it, because there's nothing you can do like just sitting around and doing nothing. If you really want to move forward, and not past it, but move forward, getting on with the business of playing football again, I think is a way that these players can certainly heal.
Talking to Mike Petraglia, CLNS. His latest installment online is about Joe Burrow and DJ Reader and how they went from being football player leaders to human being leaders and having to be leaders amongst men, which I think is very difficult in that kind of sport. And what they all witnessed. I've read a bunch of different articles going back to even the Lions when Reggie Brown basically was paralyzed on the field and couldn't breathe, and they had to use CPR to keep him alive. But seeing what they witnessed, and I discussed this the other day with Ben, it's not easy to witness CPR. It's not easy to watch somebody be resuscitated in front of you. And like you said, forget that game, but now pick up and play the next game. From covering the Bengals and Zach Taylor, I think he's been amazing throughout this entire ordeal. Describe getting back to work. I guess yesterday they did a walkthrough. Today they're probably not doing a whole lot. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to play some football eventually. Some guys' hearts won't be 100% into it. What is Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, and the leaders on this team? How do they get them focused on the Ravens game?
Here's how they do that. Once you step on the field, whether it's the practice field, whether it's the film room, and obviously whether it's even stepping on the field on Sunday ready to play a game, you have to be all in. You're either all in or you're not. And I think that's the message. And they are very sympathetic here. And I think they've handled it as well as humanly possible. And, I had a chance today in the locker room to go up to Joe Burrow and DJ Reader. Both of them spoke at the podium yesterday, and they were obviously both in that column that you just mentioned. And I told them both, there's no way you could have handled it any better or expressed the sensitivity of the situation any better than the way you guys did. And they appreciated that because in the end, I think, many times we forget that these guys are human beings. They're not just gladiators. Yeah, they're gladiators under normal circumstances, but these are not normal circumstances. What they witnessed on Monday night is not normal. And there's you draw back the curtain a little bit, and there's a human element that is very raw and very exposed. And, the Bengals are trying to acknowledge that and process it, which is, I think, a great word in a case like this, and then move forward. And I think that's why the Bengals are in good position to handle this and move forward with the business of win a game Sunday. I do not believe, guys, that the Bills-Bengals game will be played and resumed. I think that will go into the books as a suspended game and a no contest. And I think both the Bills and Bengals will play 16 games. The rest of the league, obviously, 17 games. And the NFL will let the chips fall where they may in terms of the playoff seedings, and then move forward beyond that. Now, do they add another playoff team? Do they, I saw Adam Schefter's report and Matt Hasselbeck suggesting that perhaps, one team will get a home field advantage and the other will get the number one seed in a week off, one or the other, if it involves the Bengals and Bills. And that, I don't know. I think the NFL is trying to still work that out and finalize that before they publicly announce it.
Do you know if the Bengals want to play that game?
No, I don't think so. At this point, not on this field. I don't think they want to resume, just simply because of the optics and the emotion involved. I think they just assume being played, it clinches the division for the Bengals, and they are guaranteed at least a number 3 seed and in one home playoff game. And I think you move forward. And that's, look, to be very fair about it, the Chiefs were probably going to beat the Raiders, and we'll see what happens Saturday in Las Vegas. And the Bills probably were going to beat the Patriots, though I have no idea what the state of mind is of the Buffalo Bills going into a game against the Patriots, who, if they win that game, are in the playoffs. So they're fighting for their playoff lives. So, it's hard to determine, but I don't think the Bengals, given the fact they're already in the playoffs, and if they don't play the game, they get the division anyway. I think they just rather, let's focus on beating the Ravens, get as high of a seed as we can in the next week, and then move about, our business of getting ready for the playoffs.
One of the things that Ben and I talked about today was who do you not want to play? Let's just talk about the AFC. Bengals, Bills, Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, you've covered the whole league. Is there anybody we're missing that we don't want to play right now as the playoffs are starting to unfold?
I would have my eyes on the Chargers. They look dangerous, and Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert. You say those two names by themselves, and that's enough, I think, to strike fear into any defensive coordinator, even as great as Lou Anarumo is and has been over the last 2 seasons here at Cincinnati. That is a team that I think the Bengals would, have some pause for playing, even if it were here in Cincinnati, for instance, in the first round. That is something that the Bengals, that is it's a different challenge. Remember last year, Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler came to Cincinnati and won 41-22 over the Bengals, and Burrow is yet to beat Justin Herbert in 2 career matchups. So, for as much as Burrow has that 3-0 advantage over Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert has been a hill that the Bengals haven't been able to climb yet.
You've covered Tom Brady his entire career up close and personal, and this might be the year that everyone finally should bet against him. What say you, sir? Is it still the same Tom Brady in the playoffs, and there's that magic coming? Or, man, this show's over. This guy's not going to make it through this year.
No, I think the show is not over, and I think that was my biggest takeaway from Sunday's game against Carolina. When they were down, Brady responded. That was classic Tom Brady in the fourth quarter. And he just went to Mike Evans and said, I'm going to throw the ball to you. You go up and make a play, Mike, because you're an elite receiver. And that's what it was. It was that simple. And Brady put the ball on target 3 different times. Evans made the play each time. And their defense, came through pretty much in the clutch. They still have players on defense. And when I saw the Patriots Bucks a couple of weeks ago in Tampa, it was the first half was old school Tampa Bay defense, and that's what I think you're going to see from the Buccaneers going forward, heading into the playoffs. And yes, they are a dangerous team. They are a team that is completely and entirely unpredictable, and that I'm fascinated to see how Tampa Bay and Tom Brady play heading into the postseason.
Does he play another year?
If the circumstances are right, I don't think it's in Tampa, for one. I think that the whole Las Vegas scenario with reuniting with Josh McDaniels is a very viable one. And, Jarrett Stidham is a great story perhaps for 2 weeks. If Stidham wins this week, even against Kansas City, it'd be a great story heading into the off season for Las Vegas. But I think ultimately they would love to see in Vegas Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels back for 1 year and see what they can accomplish.
What did you think of 11 years, $331 million to Rafael Devers?
Well, I shocked, for one. I didn't think the Red Sox would get it done. And 2, I don't know about you, Dibs, I didn't think Devers would take that. And when I saw, because that's a bargain for the Red Sox over 11 seasons, it's, 31? 30
annual average. People don't get that, Mike. That's a great point.
$30 million annual average. I mean, that's a bargain for the Red Sox. So kudos to Chaim Bloom and John Henry for getting that done.
Hey,
I was
great
shocked.
point. Yeah,
that is a great point. It is a great point. He'll be 37 and still able to get probably another contract. Mike, God bless you, buddy. I know it's been very emotional and a very stressful week for everybody involved, and you have to go in there and ask some tough questions on these guys too. It can't be easy. So we appreciate you giving us a few minutes of your time.
It's been always a pleasure. I'm happy to be here for you, and hopefully we have some happier, more exciting stories going forward into the postseason here from Paycor Stadium.
Yeah, I didn't even ask you about Pete Rose making the first bet in Ohio. I didn't even throw that at you. How about that action? And I'm not trying to be funny.
Let me ask you, Dibs, why do you think he was wearing a Phillies uniform?
Man, I don't know. I think that's a jab or a dig at the Reds. And I'm still scratching my head though, man. He pens that letter to the commissioner, yet he's still associated with the gambling. It's mixed messages, don't you think?
Totally mixed. That's what I thought. That was when people asked me what I thought of that. That's what I thought.
Yep.
So, anyway.
All right. I'll have to call him this week. I love that old man. He's just
so do I.
All right.
So me and Marty both, I think, will always have a fond spot, and you as well will always have a fond spot in our hearts for him.
Absolutely. All right, man. God bless you, Mike, and stay strong.
Thank you, sir.
You as well, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, Mike Petraglia, CLNS Media. Yeah, it's a great article on Joe Burrow, DJ Reader, and this isn't like, stuff these guys are accustomed to doing. They're football players. They're and it's taken a whole new turn this week in the NFL. Something also that I saw was Tom Browning's little vigil that they're doing in Cincinnati. They're not even doing it at a church or near his home. They're doing it at the Hall of Fame with the Cincinnati Reds. Visiting hours are this weekend. If you're around the Cincinnati area, I wish I could attend, but you can't. So,
that sports community, man. I mean, they really, like, throughout this tragedy with Damar, Tom Browning, just everything, even with that crappy baseball team, those sports fans will still show up. They still show support. I can't say enough about the Cincinnati Bengals fans this week. Just amazing. It's not even your team. Like, it's not a guy from your team. It's a guy from another team. And how awesome that community has been, in the sports community of Cincinnati this week, is just, it can't even be stated.
It was great to play there, and great to go back there a lot. In the past, they are a great community and good souls out there, the salt of the earth. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do the sports menu, and then you got women's basketball coming up against Xavier here in a little bit, minus Gino, who's under the weather. We'll be right back.
The